Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. And we are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And as always, we are going to be talking about how you can have a thriving life and business. So today we are going to be talking about building confidence from the inside out. We'll explore how true confidence comes, where it comes from, and how to strengthen it from the inside out. And you'll discover how your beliefs, your self-talk, and how actions influence the way that you see and feel about yourself, and how building greater self-trust can help you move beyond your fear and self-doubt. And I'm your host, Nancy Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive business expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life and business. And the show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. So let's talk about, this is in the Reset, Refocus, and Thrive series. We're in episode 3. Like I said, build confidence from the inside out. In episode 1, we did reset, letting go of what's holding you back. Episode 2, we did refocusing, getting clear on what really matters. And today we're going deeper into building confidence from the inside out so that you can create your inspired and empowered life and business. And what I would like you to think about and reflect upon is, where in your life would you like to have greater confidence? And having that confidence would make the biggest difference for you right now. So think about in your life how you would like to increase your confidence and the biggest difference you would want right now, and how that would really affect your life. So let's talk about the truth about confidence. The truth about confidence is not in the absence of fear. And what happens is, you may think that confident people never feel fear. They may fear, but it doesn't stop them from experiencing and moving forward and taking the actions. So confident people still feel fear. They still get nervous. They still feel uncertain, and they may still have self-doubt. And so what I want you all to know is that the way they differ and how that differs is they're not going to let their fears and doubts about themselves or their nervousness or their certainty stop them from moving forward, stop them from taking the actions. Like, you can still be nervous and still speak. You can still be uncertain and move forward with a decision. And there's a little caveat to that, because the more that you start trusting your intuition, that inner guidance, the inner knowing, the more certain you can become. And you can still be afraid and take that next step. It doesn't mean that you know everything's going to work out. What it means is you trust yourself enough that you can handle what happens. Now, if you're waiting until you're ready to take action, so are you saying any of these phrases? I'll do it when I'm ready. I'll speak up when I feel more confident. Or I'll start the business when I feel more sure, or when I've researched more on how to do it. Or I'll make the change when I'm sure. And the problem is that often what happens is that confidence grows once you take the actions. And it grows from the actions. You learn by doing. And what happens is your experience starts creating evidence for you. Oh, I can do that. I got that. I can make this happen. Action is a really important piece to helping you build the confidence. But I really feel you need to have both the inner confidence and the outer actions. And together, they will create the confidence that will keep you and help you moving forward. And what happens is the evidence that happens as you take actions, it strengthens your self-belief, your belief in yourself. So what I want to remind you is confidence is it's not a prerequisite for taking action. And action is one of the ways that you develop confidence, but it isn't the only answer. And that's why inner and outer work is both important. And you can take actions, but if you're internally telling yourself, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm going to fail, or I don't belong here, or I'm still fighting with myself. And that's why it's really important to start with the inner confidence so that you can take the actions with more confidence. So, where does confidence really begin? In your inner world. And your beliefs will affect and influence your confidence. And you need to understand what are the beliefs, what are the thoughts that's weakening your confidence. And much of what you believe about yourself was and has been created in early childhood experiences. And it may not only be childhood, you may have had experiences as an adult that has also weakened your confidence. And what I want you to know is that there are ways to turn this around, and we're going to be talking about them today. So if you've had in your life messages where you received messages that you weren't smart enough, or you're too sensitive, or don't draw attention to yourself, don't make mistakes. How many of you have that one? I have had so many clients have that one. And what will people think? Will I be judged? And you have to be perfect. And what happens is over time, those messages, they become those internal beliefs that start to run your life. And that's why it's really important for you to start becoming aware of what those internal beliefs are that you are thinking that are running your life. And then what ends up happening is those beliefs will end up creating your reality. Like, so for example, let's say you have a belief that whatever you do, you'll always fail. And then every experience that you have, you notice you feel like you're failing, or maybe it's a specific area of your life. Maybe it's in business or finances, or maybe it's in relationships. If you have the belief that it's not going to work out or it will fail, you will continue. This is repeating patterns that keep going and repeating because of the internal dialogue that's going on, because of your beliefs. And so it's really important to understand what's going on in that mind, especially in the subconscious mind of yours. And so Anastasia has a question, and I will get to your subconscious mind shortly. Anastasia asks, what is easier to start with? So as we go through the show, Anastasia, I'm hoping that you get the answers of where to start. And the first place that I would support you in starting with is becoming aware of your internal dialogue. It's becoming aware of the things that you're thinking to yourself, that you're believing about yourself. Now, your subconscious mind. So I'm going to go over the three minds. Your conscious mind is that part of you that makes empowering decisions and choices. And it brings you into present time. When you're in present time, you're conscious and aware. And that's what you want to become more of. Your subconscious mind, from the moment you were conceived to present time, has recorded every moment that you have been alive. So every limiting belief and every emotion, like the fear or the anger or the frustration or the feelings of failure or not good enough or believing you're not worthy or valuable, all of those, you may be conscious of them to a certain extent, but they may be running your experience. They are running your experience, not they may be. Those subconscious patterns are running your experience until you learn what they are and then start changing them. So, for example, like you didn't consciously wake up and say, today I'm going to doubt myself. And it was this pattern that was going on. And now it's about doing a pattern interrupt. And I'm going to get to that shortly. So, for example, an opportunity may appear for you and you think, oh, I can't do that. Or I'm not qualified. I can't even apply. Why bother? Or someone else is going to get it, or someone else would be better at it. And so simply telling yourself to be more confident, or if you're trying to tell somebody else, just be more confident, it doesn't work, because those beliefs and patterns are embedded in the subconscious mind. And so you need to be able to become aware of those inner dialogue in order that's happening underneath the patterns and the behavior, so that you could start changing it. And your inner dialogue matters. So it's really important. So I'm going to give you some ideas. When certain things happen, I want you to start becoming aware of how you speak to yourself. So, how do you speak to yourself after making a mistake? What are you saying to yourself? Oh, and I'm going to give you example of clients that I had. Oh, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I'm so stupid. How could I have done such a stupid thing? I'm so stupid. When they're really not stupid at all, but they're telling themselves they're really stupid. Or when you receive criticism. And when you receive criticism and you're like, ah, I'm so, I really, I can't get it right. I can't do this right. What's wrong with me? Or there's something wrong with me. Or you're trying to find something, you're trying to do something new. I don't think that I can do this. I'm not capable of doing it. Those are all things that you could be doing to yourself. Or when you're comparing yourself with someone else. Oh, they got it better. She can do it, but I can't. Or look how he can do it. He's so good at it. I'm not good. And when you're comparing, that sets yourself up. And so I want you to ask yourself, how would you speak to someone that you really cared about? And this is the beginning of really loving yourself to a whole new level. That's self-love. Because it's learning to care about yourself the way that you care about others. So how would you speak to someone that you really cared about? What would you say to them? And so I want to invite you to become your own cheerleader, your own supporter, rather than your harshest critic. So let's talk about examples of that. So let's talk about how we call this reframing, changing that dialogue. So the inner dialogue. So instead of, I don't know what I'm doing, I support you and say, I'm learning. Or instead of, I'm terrible at this, try, I'm learning and I'm developing this skill. So instead of saying, I failed, say, even if it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? So instead of saying, I'm not ready, how about I can take the next step and I can learn as I go. Remember, baby steps, one baby step at a time. And what I really want you to all know is that your words matter because your mind is listening. And your confidence begins with you changing the relationship you have with yourself and how you speak to yourself. I have had clients, I'll give you an example of Shelley. And Shelley used to be so negative, and she grew up in a very abusive, toxic environment. I call her a walking miracle. And Shelley is so on top of her inner dialogue now. She would beat herself up and put herself down and constantly say negative things to herself. But now she started really becoming much more aware of what she's saying. She's watching that inner dialogue and she is changing. And I watch her as she changes how she's behaving and functioning in this world. It's amazing. And I want to encourage you, because if Shelley can do it, you can do it. And I also want you to know there's a third part of your mind called your superconscious mind. And that is your angels and guides, the universe, God, or divine consciousness, or whatever you choose to call it, higher power. And that consciousness can also support you. You can ask for help and you can get help. Now, you need to take your conscious awareness, making your conscious decision to start catching and becoming aware of your subconscious patterns. And then you can ask for help from your superconscious mind to keep clearing those patterns, to keep changing those patterns, and to help you to keep moving forward. And so now let's talk about self-trust. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence. And the way that confidence and self-trust are connected is it isn't only believing you're capable, it's learning to trust yourself. It's developing the relationship with yourself so that you are trusting yourself. And so it's listening to yourself and positively listening to yourself. So let's be clear on that. So saying those positive. So like you start thinking, oh, I want to start catching what my subconscious thoughts are that are sabotaging me. And you start listening more to what you're saying to yourself so that you can then change those inner dialogue and those patterns. And when you start making decisions, you can start trusting yourself. You can honor your needs, honoring your needs, honoring your wants, and also learning to recover when things don't go as planned. And that is also called resilience. And we're going to be talking about that next show. But right now, what happens is that trust, learning to trust yourself. And when you take actions by listening to yourself, by making empowered decisions. And what I mean by empowered decision is becoming very conscious of what it is you're choosing to do and not deciding from an subconscious, unconscious place. Because sometimes you can do that when that inner dialogue is going on. And when you're making those empowered decisions, that will lead to more self-trust. And when you honor your needs and you really do self-care practices, you know, I'm always saying essential self-care, that builds the self-trust. And so if you are overriding yourself, like you override yourself, confidence can weaken. So how do you lose the self-trust? So let's talk a little bit about that. If you're asking everyone about what you should do before you ask yourself, that could weaken your confidence and your loss in trusting yourself. If you ignore your intuition, if you're ignoring that inner voice, or when you say yes but you really want to say no. We talked about that. I call that's people pleasing, like you're pleasing someone else over yourself. Or you make a commitment to yourself to do something or take an action and then you don't follow through. That will weaken your self-trust. Or you start comparing yourself or your choices to everybody else's. And then there's second guessing your decisions. You make a decision, you feel good about it, and then you start second guessing yourself. So all of those will lead to weakening self-trust and weakening your confidence in yourself. So how do you build that self-trust? And before I get to that, we have Mickey who says, things always come up and plans change. So, Mickey, when you say that, what do you mean? Are you talking specifically about when you make a commitment to yourself and then you don't follow through because things come up and plans change? So if that's the case and something, yes, okay. So what I support you in doing is if for some reason something comes up and your plans change and you've made a commitment to yourself, what would you do if it was a person that you really cared about, you're in a relationship with, which most important relationship you have is with yourself. And so if something like that happens, what I would support you in doing is rescheduling and saying, really, like, I really feel like we need to be honoring and talking to ourselves in positive ways. So you could say to yourself, I know I planned on doing this, but this situation has come up and now I need to follow through with that. So I'm going to reschedule my time to do this. So you reschedule, but make sure that you commit to the rescheduling time. Like if something's coming up, every time you have something scheduled, time for yourself or a commitment you want to follow through with, my question to you would be, and this is for all of you, is that some type of self-sabotage? If you're not following through ever and you reschedule and then something else comes up or something else comes up and you're always rescheduling yourself or putting yourself last on the list, then I would support you in looking at that and asking yourself the deeper question, like, what's really going on? What's going on that I am not keeping my commitments to myself? And so I really support you in looking at that. And so so hopefully that was helpful, Mickey. Let me know. And if you or Anastasia or anybody else has any questions, let me know. So how do you rebuild that self-trust? Well, I really want to support you in starting with the small promises to yourself. And those baby steps. So if you notice that there's a pattern where you keep putting yourself last on the list, what would be something that you could put yourself first on the list? And maybe it's sometime in the morning. You're not giving yourself enough time alone or quiet time. And start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes of quiet time or 5 minutes of journaling. 5 minutes of self-reflecting. And then it's really important, if you tell yourself you're going to do something, I really want to support you in following through when reasonably possible. And that's why I was saying to reschedule the time or date with yourself. and really pay attention to your internal guidance, the inner guidance. And that guidance can come through as a whisper or a feeling or a sense. Start paying attention to those, because it's that those intuitive inner wisdom knowledge that is trying to come through. And learning to make decisions without requiring everyone or anyone's approval except yourself. And learning to make those decisions following the intuitive guidance. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I had a situation today where I was being guided to follow through in something. And again, I will share this as it unfolds. But I was being guided to follow through and do something. But I had all this fear come up. And this goes to taking action even when you have the fear. And so I was aware that I was in the fear. And I was like, you know what? I did some work on myself to help me get in touch with the fears that were coming up so that I can let them go. And then I started taking actions, and I started continuing to work on the situation that I'm being guided to work on. And so I made the decision to keep on going. And I really want to support you. It's following that inner guidance. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't. First of all, you may need to gather information. You may need to gather research. And you may want to ask people, one person, two people, but I wouldn't ask a whole bunch of people to help you make the decision. I know what that's like. I've been there, done that. And that is actually one of the reasons why I started following my inner guidance. And because I had the realization I wanted to follow my guidance and not depend on everybody else's opinions to move forward or to follow through. And I also want you to stop expecting yourself to be perfect, or to stop expecting those decisions to be perfect. It's the baby steps. Remember those baby steps. Okay, so Mickey said, it could be something else comes up, change my mind, not in the mood for it at the time. Lots of reasons. So Nikki, what I support you in doing, it could be, well, it depends on what it is. It all depends. Like, if there's something that you make a commitment to and it feels important for you to move forward, or maybe it's something that's supporting your inner growth, and you may not be in the mood for it, but when you start following through and committing to it, then you will start to see more self-trust. And this is for all of you. So it's about learning to follow through even when you may not feel like it. That's a biggie. Now, if you change your mind and it's something that's not going to support you, or you're moving in another direction, that's something different. But if it's something that's going to help you and support you in your personal growth, I really want to encourage you, all of you, to really commit to doing something for yourself that will continue to take care of you. And what I want to support you in looking at is, where am I trusting everyone else's voice more than my own? Where am I trusting everyone else's voice more than my own? And what happens is your outside experience builds the confidence. It builds. So you have your internal dialogue that you need to work on to help you build the confidence from the inside out. And then when you're able to take this step and you have enough confidence, and here's the thing, it doesn't mean not feeling the fear or the uncertainty or the doubt. It means doing it anyway. And so your inner work needs outer action. So you can meditate, you can visualize, you can work on your beliefs, you can use affirmations, develop greater self-awareness, and all of those are important. Those are crucial and helpful tools to help you to keep moving forward. But eventually, you're going to need to take some type of action. And so, I'll give you an example. You don't become a confident driver by reading about driving, or you don't become a confident speaker by just imagining yourself speaking. You need to speak. You don't become confident running a business by simply keep taking course after course after course. You have to start talking to potential clients, start making your offer, marketing yourself, making business decisions, wise business decisions. And ultimately, no matter what happens, it's learning from your experience, because your experience gives your brain evidence. What happens is, when you start doing something that used to frighten you, or when you've overcome the fear and you start doing the things, even remember, baby steps, you can start saying to yourself, I did do it. I handled it. It wasn't perfect, but I survived. Or it wasn't perfect. What can I learn from this experience? Or I learned something about myself, or I learned from this experience. I can do this again. I can do this again. And so what ends up happening is your experience becomes part of your confidence, the confidence cycle. So you believe in yourself a little more by changing the internal dialogue. And then you take an action, even a baby step, and you gain experience. And then you're going to learn from that experience. And then you're going to learn to trust yourself more. And then you're going to take the next action. And then you're going to have the confidence that continues to build through the cycle. And as I was saying that, what came to my mind, now I don't know if you remember what it was like when you first learned to walk, but most of us, we would maybe be scared of taking a step. You were crawling and you maybe were afraid, or you took a step and you fell. And it took practice to keep on walking. And now look at you, you can walk. So I'm going to give you some ideas of how that can help you. Those are all ways that it's a process that happens. And taking those baby steps, taking those actions, are part of it. And so I really want to invite you to consider. And what happens is, your confidence doesn't mean it's all going to work out perfectly. Don't stop the perfection. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be you taking action. You taking action. You taking a baby step. Remember, it took a while for you to learn how to walk. I mean, some of you maybe were able to walk more quickly and easily, but most of us, most of you, fell. But it didn't stop you from learning how to walk. And so I really want to invite you to think about that in your mind. When you want to accomplish something or when you want to move forward, and remember, baby steps. You know how I'm always talking about the baby steps. Baby steps. Those baby steps will still get you walking and moving forward. So, and so I really want to support you in knowing that you can do this. One baby step at a time. Changing the inner dialogue. First of all, first becoming aware of the inner dialogue. Then it's reframing the inner dialogue. And then it's making those commitments to yourself and keeping them that will support you in moving forward. And then one baby step at a time, taking the actions to keep you moving forward. And all of that develops your confidence and your self-trust in yourself. And so I want you all to know that it's a journey, it's a process, and building confidence is so important. It's a really important piece to your evolution, your growth. So it's bringing the two sides together. Your inner confidence is challenging those limiting beliefs, changing the inner dialogue, developing the self-trust, listening to your intuition, recognizing your strengths, and giving yourself permission to be imperfect. And then the outer confidence then comes by taking the actions, practicing, developing the skills, gaining the experience, learning from your mistakes, and you keep showing up. So, recognize those limiting beliefs, build that greater self-confidence by self-trust, and you're doing the inner work so then you can take the steps and the actions to start continuing to build your confidence. And what I'd like you to think about is, what would you do differently this week if you trusted yourself even 10% more? Where would you be and what would happen if you started trusting yourself even a little more? And then next week, we're going to take this one step further, talking about resilience, bouncing back. So no matter how confident, clear, or prepared you are, life doesn't always go according to plan. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be disappointments and unexpected changes. So next week, join us for how to develop resilience during those uncertain times. And for those of you who would really like to really understand yourself more and really work on more about reaching your full potential, I have a 3-minute self-assessment that will help you to really understand more of where you're limiting your potential, where your mindset patterns that would be keeping you stuck, where and how you can develop greater confidence, resilience, and growth, and the next steps that you can take to begin to unlock your confidence so that you can move towards your potential. And you're going to go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com, the name of the show, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/full potential, one word, dash ebook. So inspiredandempoweredliving.com full potential dash ebook, and download that. And Rebels put the links in the chat, and I invite you to move towards your full potential. And I want to say thank you all for being here. And I look forward to supporting you more with helping you with resilience in next week's episode, developing that resilience. And you can find us on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, my YouTube channel. We are live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can also hear us on the podcast 24/7, as well as YouTube is 24/7 too. And you can hear us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And I wish you an inspired and empowered day, an inspired and empowered night and week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye for now.